Good morning. It's time for a Trader Chat with Johnny Ward and Flynn Goward. We're going to reflect on what could be a seminal weekend in the Premier League in terms of Man City's title chase and maybe the hopes of others as well, particularly the holders, Liverpool. Flynn, I've been kind of saying for a while, I think Manchester City are extremely vulnerable favourites. But as I kind of admitted to you before the show, I actually had a few quid on Leicester yesterday because I didn't like Liverpool's team, and Leicester drifted out to a price and they battled them. And Liverpool, to me now, they look more like champions with every week, almost by default because of what City are doing.
Yeah, exactly. And you said that City look like vulnerable favourites. Well, they're certainly one of them. They're vulnerable, but they're not favourites anymore.
Mm.
Liverpool have really shortened up 13-10 now for the league. City gone right out to 5-2 from 6-4. A big flip-flop this weekend. Like you just said, I also fancied Leicester at the weekend, but they were really poor against Liverpool. And I think that just speaks well for Liverpool. I mean, they've gone 64 games unbeaten at home now. We'll talk about some funky markets that we've got up in terms of that in just a moment. But Spurs have also shortened up 5-1. Chelsea shortened up 11-2, and it's 28 bar. So it looks like a four-runner heat. But like you just said, I'd really be all about Liverpool and probably Spurs, to be honest. I think Spurs will be the main danger. I think they've got strength and depth in every position, but good strength in depth as well. Same with Liverpool. So you've got a lot of injuries at the moment, but you're still drubbing Leicester at home. So a real interesting market, a big shake-up at the weekend. And we've got some big fixtures to look forward to this weekend, which will again shake it up.
Yeah, that is a remarkable thing, how well they've done considering the unbelievable run of injuries really they've had and how they utterly dominated Leicester really. Just in terms of the weekend, what was the punting like? Because I can't imagine, punters were lumping into Man City given the way that they've been playing. And obviously, I guess there were a few bad results as well with some of the fancy teams winning.
Yeah, there was. I mean, in terms of the City Spurs game, we actually saw a lot of money for Spurs, and that was probably our worst result of the weekend. A lot of money coming in for Spurs there, and then also we saw quite a bit of money for Leicester, so that wasn't a bad result for us. Liverpool actually winning at home yesterday, but people obviously thinking the same as us, Johnny, and getting it wrong like us as well. So a real mixed bag in terms of results for the weekend. But some markets I did want to touch on. We've obviously just spoke about Liverpool and the unbeaten record they have at home. Some markets that we've priced up, I don't think any other bookmaker has got. So we obviously know that Chelsea hold the record for the amount of unbeaten home games consecutively at 86. We've priced up Liverpool to get to 87 and surpass Chelsea at 5-1. And then you can bet the other side for them not to do it at 10-1 on. We've also priced up which team is going to end Liverpool's home Premier League unbeaten run. We've priced up the next 8 games. We'll get the graphic of the market up on screen now, so everybody who's watching can see it. But just spin through the next few games. So Wolves, we've got in there at 4-1. Spurs 7-2. They're obviously playing them after Wolves. West Brom 17-1. Burnley 18. United 7-1, and so on for the next 8 games. And then we've got no name teams. So essentially Liverpool to get beyond these 8 teams at 2-1. So some interesting markets to get involved in there if you do think that Liverpool are going to continue this unbeaten run that they're on at home.
Yeah, it's a nice bet for Liverpool fans as well. If it's that 5-1, obviously you can cheer it on all the way to its completion. But when you think of the players that they have to come back, I don't know. I think Star Sports were 5-2 at one stage this season when that was probably when Van Dijk got injured, and the Van Dijk injury now doesn't even seem to be that much of an issue anymore. Because again, if they can kind of steamroll Leicester, what hope do other teams have?
Yeah, exactly. It's just strength in depth, and I think that your front kind of 4 now with Jota being involved just make the difference. And yeah, you usually like a well put together side, and I think you are worthy favourites. One thing we did want to speak about quickly was Leicester, and we obviously spoke about the race to 10 market in quite a few weeks when we've been doing the trader chat. So we priced up players to get to 10 goals first in the Premier League, and that was settled this weekend because Dominic Calvert-Lewin scored 2 for Everton. He was 11-4 favourite going into the weekend. He was on 8 goals along with Son, Salah, and Harry Kane, I believe. He was 11-4 before the weekend started, and that was a really bad result for us in getting them 2 goals. So it was actually the worst result in the race to 10 market. But another market that was a bit interesting and a little bit different that we set up. And it's also had an impact on the top goal scorer market for the whole season. Dominic Calvert-Lewin shortened up into 6-1, with Harry Kane still being the favourite in that market. So quite an interesting market to see how that's going to evolve for the rest of the season.
Yeah, an interesting one as well as the relegation market. Fulham 4s on, West Brom 4-11, Sheffield United 8-13. I definitely fancy them to have a poor season. I'm not saying I fancy them to have gone quite as badly as it did. and Burnley 4-5. But let's move on to racing, because obviously Bristol Dubai, I suppose, took a lot of the plaudits the weekend. We also had Manila Indo, who did the job very nicely, really, at Navan yesterday. We had some really good performances, even some Willie Mullins horses running throughout the week that took the eye. But what were the shake-up situation, I suppose, in terms of the Cheltenham markets and so on?
Yeah, so let's touch on Haydock first. Obviously, Bristol to my winning his third Betfair Chase, was fantastic in the ground. He's 33-1 for the Gold Cup. Couldn't have him for that, really. I mean, heavy ground Haydock just means Bristol to my these days, doesn't it? I thought Lost in Translation was pretty poor, even though you could probably blame the ground for that, I would imagine. And these Tizard horses do just come on for the run. I think the one to focus on from the race, Clanderzobo, he's shorn right up for the King George. We laid a lot of 5-2 after the race, actually. I think he got a bit side in the ground, will come on for the run. Thought he was so impressive last year. Obviously, he won it for the second time last year, beating Surname. He's now 2-1, was 7-2, 2-1 for the King George. I think he's the one to focus on in terms of Ante-Post markets, not for Cheltenham, but for the King George at Kempton. Lost in Translation was eased for the Gold Cup at 16-1, and was eased for the King George at 8-1. Again, like I just said, pretty poor performance at the weekend for him. The one other race to touch on from Haydock, I think, was the Stayers Handicap Hurdle. Main Fact won his 9th race in a row. I mean, imagine owning a horse like that, would be amazing. He was a pretty bad result in the race. We laid Main Fact, Relegator, and the Jam Man. And Main Fact is now 20-1 for the Stayers Hurdle. So still a big price there. And obviously that market's going to have a shake-up this week. We see Paisley Park coming out at Newbury, along with McFabulous. So that'll be a decent race on Friday, and we'll see the Stayers Hurdle have a right little shake-up.
What about Fernie Hollow and my Gold Cup presenting Percy, who did the job quite nicely?
I know he was fantastic presenting Percy. Great to see him coming back to some form for Gordon Elliott, obviously switching trainers. Fernie Hollow I think it was pretty impressive. I think beating Bob Oninger, I think it was two smart horses coming clear of the field. I mean, they came absolutely miles clear, didn't they? He strengthened up for 8-1 for the Supreme, for the Cheveley Park stud.
And it's still hard to know with Ballyadam, because obviously one of them could go for the other race. And I honestly, Fernie Hollow's quite keen, but if he settled, I've no problem. I've no issue with him getting a Neptune or a Ballymore trip either, you know?
Yeah. And I think that the way that when I watched both performances, I thought Ballyadam jumped a bit quicker. So whether you need that for a Supreme or a Ballymore, only the trainer will know. But yeah, I mean, they go either way. I'll probably be holding off if I was to bet any of them, especially at the prices they are now, until you just know where they're going, to be honest. One more performance to talk about in the week was Chantry House. Obviously ran at Ascot, now 10-1 for the Marsh if it goes to take on Emboy LM when it gets to Cheltenham. I thought he was really smart. I think he looked a bit of a stayer, to be honest. People talking about dropping back to 2 miles. I think people are just talking about that because of the Emboy LM factor. Again, we'll have to wait and see where he goes. But I thought he looked pretty smart. Also, Ascot of the weekend, we saw Imperial Aura come out. He's now 8-1 favourite for the Ryanair. He was really impressive, I thought. And to be honest, I thought he looked really classy. And it wouldn't surprise me if in time he turns into a Gold Cup horse. They're obviously going to swerve the King George and just aim at the Ryanair. So they're not going to worry about 3 miles this year anyway. But I think in time, it wouldn't surprise me if he turned into a Gold Cup horse. The breeding says he'll probably get the trip. And I think he just looks really classy. He reminds me a little bit of Cool Toe Star, which is a bit of a brave thing to say.
Big words.
Yeah, but I think in time he'll be a proper horse. And I can see him going and doing the business. Just jumps so well. Looks really, really classy. I think he'll win the Ryanair, and I think he'll go on to better things next year.
What else you got on the racing front?
Yeah, so the Accra Hurdle was probably the pinnacle of our laying weekend. I mean, we laid Lorena really heavily, all the way from 11-8 into 5-4. She really didn't look herself, but we didn't mind that whatsoever. Song for Someone.
How are people still backing Lorena? Unbelievable.
I know, it's absolute madness, isn't it? I mean, just purely on what she did years ago, but she didn't beat much years ago anyway. So we laid her really heavily. So it was great to get that, and that kind of made our weekend, to be honest. There's probably a couple more performances to talk about. You mentioned Sunday. Minetta Indo was very impressive at Navan. He's now 8-1 for the Gold Cup. I wouldn't be convinced, to be honest. I think you're taking at 8-1 purely on how much improvement is there. If I'm taking a price for something in the Gold Cup and I'm relying on improvement, I want to be taking bigger prices, to be honest. And obviously the way that Minetta Indo and Allaho finished the RSA last year, I'd rather take the price about Champ and trust that Nicky can get his jumping right, rather than take a price about Minetta Indo 8-1 about the improvement. Blackbow won a beginner's chase as well in Ireland.
He was awesome, Flynn. He was absolutely awesome. And I've been saying this for like a year or two. Why are you wasting your time in bumpers and hurdles with this horse? He's getting on. He's 8 next year. Send him over fences. And of course I was right for a rare time. I was right. He was brilliant to watch. He was absolutely brilliant. And I was like, what's he going to find here from the last? Because it's not that he's not a genuine horse, it's just that hurdles didn't suit him. And his jumping was spectacular.
Yeah, he was. I thought he was really impressive. And to be honest, I thought he'd be short for the Arkle, but he's 25-1 with us for the Arkle. And so if you did want to take a chance on Blackbow for March, that would be the price that you'll be getting.
Colours have missed that and won the race, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciate it. It's probably the last horse we need to talk about. The champion bumper form was working out really, really well. I know they're only running in Mickey Mouse, maiden hurdles, etc. when they're coming out now, but one in really good style at Cork, although a 1-12 shot. 14 to 1 for the Supreme. Yeah, 14 for the Supreme and 10-1 favourite for the Ballymore. I wasn't really convinced of him. I really wanted to lay him at Cheltenham last year when I was standing on track. We were joint top price pretty much the whole way.
Standing on track? When was this? 2003 or something?
I know, it feels like that.
Yeah.
We really wanted to lay him, and we were really happy to see Fernie Hollow come and chin him in the champion bumper last year. I thought he was a massive hype horse, although I did think he was impressive at Cork the other day, but it wouldn't surprise me if he found one too good or even more than that when we get to Cheltenham in March.
Yeah, of course, Ireland v England played in rugby. Now, strangely enough, in Ireland anyway this week, the Ireland-England football game which took place previously was actually in the headlines more because of controversial motivational video, which didn't work out very well. But anyway, it was the same old story. Ireland lost to England, but France and Scotland was more relevant for you guys in terms of laying stakes.
It was, yeah. We didn't see a huge amount of action on the England game, but when we look at the France-Scotland game, obviously it's the Autumn Nations Cup. We laid France at -6.5 on the handicap against Scotland. And France won by 7 points in the end. So it was a bit of a sickener for us. But I mean, we can't complain with the racing results we had over the weekend. So it wasn't the worst weekend for us, to be honest, even though we did struggle with the rugby.
Massive game coming up this week, Chelsea and Spurs. And in racing, obviously, we have Newbury and Newcastle as well. So plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. On the racing front, we got 4 Ante-Post races priced up on site for Friday when the Newbury Winter Carnival starts up. And then obviously we've got the Ladbrokes Trophy on Saturday. The Ante-Post losers in there for us at the moment would be Blacklock and Kill the Start. They'd be the worst Ante-Post results for us, although I would expect to see more money during the week when we get some more declarations. We've obviously got the Fighting Fifth. We've got Epatton coming back out or potentially coming back out. This weekend, you would expect her to make a winning reappearance. She's about 4 to 6 chance, but again, we'll be getting decks through there. I'd really fancy her for the champion hurdle, so I'd want her to go really well this weekend. And then, like I say, we've got Chelsea Spurs at the weekend. That is probably the highlight on the football front. Expect to see some more market shake-ups when we speak next week, because that's a huge one for the 3rd and 4th favourites for the title. Yeah,
just before we go, we would like some reaction from those who watch the show. Has Flynn gone massively down in your estimation when we see, what date is it? 23rd of November. 23rd of November. And as you can clearly see behind him, there's a Christmas tree up, with what appears to be gifts under the Christmas tree in November. You've absolutely disgraced yourself here. But it turns out you're effectively under the thumb of your girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if Esme had her way, then the tree would be up on the 1st of September. But she has managed to redeem herself, because the gift that's under there is an advent calendar full of beer, so it could be worse.
What are you drinking, IPAs?
They're craft ales, actually, so I can open one every day. So I'll be having an ale a day instead of a chocolate day.
Marginally up in my estimation, just exactly the reprieve. Thanks a million, Flynn.
Cheers, Johnny.
Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next week with Trader Chat.